and thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to talk to you all about one of my favorite topics, live commerce meets WooCommerce, a case study. You can follow me on Twitter at MuhsinLK. If you have any questions about this, you may ask there, or you can follow in general. About me, my name is Mohammed Muhsin, and I work as a senior WordPress engineer at RT Camp. Apart from working with WordPress and React, I also love to write about WordPress and React. So I have written about that in publications like Smashing Magazine and more. Apart from that, I have been featured on sites like CSS Tricks, WP Tavern, and Post Status. In addition to working with these technologies, I love to travel and explore the natural beauty of my country. I also love to eat good food. Let's start about talking about the case study. So I have been working with a company called Simpler in Denver, Colorado with a team, and we have done some cool solutions that we will be talking about in this case study. So let's set the premise for today's session. Simpler has a number of clients who had initially started out with brick and mortar stores, and two of the clients had been selling sewing machines and notions and everything related to sewing. They had an e-commerce presence with WooCommerce, just plain WooCommerce, and it had low e-commerce sales, and the vast majority of the sales came from the in-store walk-in customers. So since they were selling sewing machines, a big part of their sales came from demonstrating the product to the customers. For example, a salesperson would demonstrate how a sewing machine works to the customer, who would then, if they're interested, they would probably purchase a sewing machine, for example. As you know, 2020 hit. So before 2020, they had something called a live in-person event in a large area, which gathered about 500 attendees. So a vast chunk of the annual sales came within these days of the event, this in-person event in a large location. As you might have guessed already, because of 2020 and COVID, it became a challenge to host these large events. So what we had to do was to devise a solution, which essentially is what we're going to talk about, which is the live commerce solution. So this solution meant that we had to host the live videos on Vimeo, and these Vimeo videos were embedded on a microsite built on Gatsby, and these had product cards besides the live video. So what I mean by product cards is, when I'm talking here, a product card would appear right next to me, and which will show what I'm talking to you about. For example, I could be talking about this watch, and a card would be next to the video screen, and that would have a button of add to cart to buy this watch instantly. I'll explain what I'm talking to you in the following slides. So you can click on this card to add the product I'm demoing directly to the cart. And if I talk about a different product, for example, if I talk about a phone, the card would automatically change to the thing I'm talking to you about. So let's start with a demo of what I'm talking to you about, an actual demo of a live site. So here we go. So these are products that the presenter would be talking to you all about.
Hi everybody, and welcome to our Rocky Mountain Sewing and Vacuum Sew and Tell for the month of August. If you're watching this, you know that we actually had our
As you can see, there is an add to cart button for the membership card, and also all these products are also featured down here. So as the presenter is demoing these products, you can directly either add these products to the card yourself, or according to the context of the discussion, these card on the right hand side would change here, for example. So when the presenter is talking about the glasses here, it would change, and when they are changing the subject to something else, it would change.
So I did actually finish it this month.
So
you can see it. This is
when she is talking about this tote bag, for example, you can listen to her talk about the tote bag, and it would automatically change to the tote bag on this right side. So I think this is a really cool solution. I hope you will agree as well with me when I say it's a really cool solution we have done here. For example, when the presenter is talking about something else totally different, you can see that the same product is appearing here, and we can easily add to cart directly. It's like, and you can see here we can add to cart and then check out, and for example, buy this product. So let's get back to the topic today. So that was a cool demo, right? So let's talk about what happened behind the scenes of all these from a technical perspective. So as you would have seen, the main part of this demo was the card that you saw on the right hand side, which showed the product that was being discussed on the live video, and we can directly add the product to the card. And the cards, we saw that they were swapping based on the context of discussion. So after these live events, the sales that were dwindling because of COVID, so after we hosted the live events, even with the shutdowns and the lockdowns owing to COVID-19, the combination of WordPress, SEO, Facebook advertising, e-commerce with WooCommerce, and lead form submission, all of this combined had increased the overall sales. And of course the client was very happy, and yeah, we were very happy with the solution. So some of the clients where we had implemented this solution, you saw the demo of Rocky Mountain Sewing, who is a seller of sewing machines and teacher of sewing classes based in Colorado. And there is Moors, who are based in California, and Wage Love, who is a e-commerce fashion wear e-commerce store. So let's break down the solution of what went into the demo that you had just witnessed. Yeah, so as you might have already seen elsewhere, for a static site or a decoupled site or a headless site, the content comes from WordPress, and the template would come from a site like a framework like Gatsby or Next.js, and using React. And this would both get combined to a Gatsby site that can be front end specifically built for a front end experience. So we have Gatsby at the front end in this case. This is a typical Gatsby site, and what we saw on the demo as well was a Gatsby site. So we have WordPress and WooCommerce at the back end. So we are all familiar with WooCommerce. We are here at WooSesh, so it doesn't need any introduction, so as WordPress. And that was all glued together by WP GraphQL and WooGraphQL. You might have heard about the WP GraphQL and WooGraphQL. So a 10-second introduction is WP GraphQL is a plugin that adds a GraphQL server to your WordPress website. So for example, WordPress traditionally had a monolithic CMS, which then had a REST API server. Then with WP GraphQL, you have a GraphQL server, so you can make GraphQL requests and get JSON response. WooGraphQL is an extension to GraphQL and also an extension to WooCommerce that adds a GraphQL server to your WooCommerce store. And this is a two-part solution. One is the live events. And live events, one of the main solution tools that was needed for live events was Firebase. So when we used WP GraphQL alone for live events, we tried a pilot event where we had about 50 attendees, and all the 50 attendees stampeding the server, the GraphQL server, and the site had crashed. So we switched to Firebase, which is ideal for a live solution, which is the event that we are going to talk about. The second part is the recorded events. After the live events were over, what I showed you was a recorded event. So for this event, ACF played a crucial role. For example, I'll get back to that in a while. So apart from hosting live events, we also wanted to schedule these live events as well as classes. So for that, we used the Events Calendar Pro plugin, and we wrote a plugin called QL Events, which is a GraphQL extension for this plugin. We used Firebase for real-time card swaps for the live events. So what happens is Firebase would control this demo screen, where for example, if I want a particular product to be shown while the live video was being played, I can click on a particular product's radio button and that would appear on the screen. So ideally it would be one person talking about the product and the other person controlling the screen, or the same person can do both. It's very similar to what I'm doing here with the slides. As I talk about, for example, a watch, I can press that particular radio button and it would display that, or for something else it would display something else. And for ACF, it's an interesting solution we devised. So from a particular time stamp to a particular timestamp, we would show a particular product, and from a different timestamp we would show a different product. So that way it was very easy for the user to configure the product, and it worked flawlessly when we demoed it just now for this session. For Google Sheets, so we use Google Sheets for collecting information requests from an online attendee for this live event. So not all the products had a add to cart button. Some of the products that were complex or expensive or needed more information to be purchased before being purchased had a inquiry button or a contact button. So we recorded this contact information in Google Sheets. These are for products that did not have a simple add to cart button because they were either expensive or needed to be discussed before being bought. So for the checkout, for the cart, for the products that can be added directly to the cart, we use Stripe checkout, and which use the Stripe's own solution on their page. And Netlify Lambda. So a lot of the things here meant that we could not directly work from just the front end of the site. We also needed a serverless solution. Let's see what I'm going to talk to you all about shipping. So let me quickly add my information to checkout. And we also built a solution to load the shipping rates. For example, let's say we use UPS ground and a payment method, which were these methods, and we would be then directed to the Lambda. So this is what I meant by we needed a lot of Netlify Lambda functions. So you can see here. Yeah, moving on. In summary, we just saw the demo of how we can go from adding the product to the cart and then to check out the same product. So let's see what technologies went into this solution. So we had WordPress, of course, as the primary content management system that's powered the whole experience, especially from a content standpoint, because it's a two-part solution. One is the live site, and also we also do have a front end of the site, which is the main site. The earlier demo was specifically for showing live events, and this is for the main e-commerce site. This is built in Gatsby, by the way. So we had WordPress and WooCommerce for the e-commerce experience, and of course Gatsby for the front end. And we talked about WP GraphQL, which powered the bridge between WordPress, WooCommerce, and the front end Gatsby. So along with GraphQL, we also had WooGraphQL, WP GraphQL. We just saw that Stripe was used for the payment gateway, and the whole experience, the front-end experience, were hosted on Netlify along with Netlify Lambda functions. We used ACF for timing the recorded events and the timestamps to add the product cards in the correct times, and of course the events calendar plugin for scheduling these events for users. And we use Firebase for the live events for live commerce, and of course Google Sheets for collecting the data from the users when they inquire about a certain product. Yeah, finally, thank you so much for having me today, and you can reach out to me at muhammad@hey.com or at mohsinlk. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you all about live commerce. And again, thank you.